The restaurant was busy that evening. Soft jazz played while warm lights reflected off the windows. People laughed, chatting over their meals. Mia Thompson, 26, worked another long shift, carrying trays, taking orders, smiling politely, pretending life was perfect. It wasn't. Once she had dreams, a college boyfriend, plans for the future. Now she lived in a tiny Brooklyn apartment, working double shifts to survive. "Mia, table 12, her manager called. "Got it," she replied, grabbing her notepad. Suddenly, whispers spread across the restaurant. Eyes turned toward the entrance. And there he was. Daniel Carter, the youngest tech billionaire in New York, tall, confident, dressed in a black suit. But to Mia, he was more than that. 10 years ago, he had been her college boyfriend, a broke student with big dreams. They had met at Columbia. She worked at the bookstore. He studied business. Late-night talks, coffee dates, dreams shared. Daniel had promised, "One day I'll build something huge." Mia had believed him. She encouraged him, stayed up coding, reminded him not to give up. Until one day, Daniel disappeared. No calls, no messages, nothing. Mia moved on, but Daniel's face now appeared everywhere: magazines, news, tech articles. And tonight, he walked into her restaurant. Her heart raced. Table 12. His table. She took a deep breath, picked up her notepad, and walked toward him. Their eyes met. Time seemed to stop. Daniel smiled politely. "Good evening. I'll have the grilled salmon and a glass of red wine." Mia wrote it silently, hands shaking slightly. She turned to leave. Just then, he spoke. "Excuse me." Mia stopped. "Yes." Daniel looked carefully at her. "Have we met before?" Mia froze, her heart pounding. 10 years of memories rushed back, late-night talks, laughter, stolen glances, dreams shared with Daniel. How could he just pretend? She forced herself to stay calm. "No, I don't think so," she said quietly, keeping her voice steady. Daniel nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. There was a pause, a weight in the air, as if the restaurant itself held its breath. Memories of their first college date came flooding back. Daniel had been nervous, fumbling with his tie, carrying that old laptop everywhere. He had promised he would make a life for them, a future they could share. Mia remembered how he left without explanation, disappearing for months while she waited, heartbroken. Now, standing before him, she realized he had changed. He was taller, confident, polished. But those eyes, there was still something familiar in them, a flicker of the boy she once knew. Daniel spoke softly, almost a whisper. "I didn't think you'd want to see me again." Mia's chest tightened. "Then why come here?" she asked. A faint smile touched his lips. "Because I needed to see you, to apologize." Shock rippled through her. After all these years, after all the heartbreak, he was here, admitting a mistake, reaching out. Mia blinked, unsure whether to be angry, sad, or relieved. The restaurant around them faded, the murmurs and music disappearing from her mind. It was just them, past and present colliding. For the first time that night, Mia allowed herself to feel confusion, nostalgia, and a hint of hope. Mia's eyes narrowed, trying to read his expression. Daniel took a deep breath, his hands resting on the table. "Mia, I know I hurt you," he said softly, "but you have to understand, I had no choice back then." She frowned. "No choice? You just disappeared. No calls, no explanation." Daniel's gaze dropped for a moment, shame written across his face. "I was failing, my company, my future. I thought if I stayed, you'd see me fall. I didn't want you to watch me fail." Mia's hands clenched at her sides. "So leaving me was better? That's your excuse?" Daniel shook his head quickly. "No, it was my worst mistake. I should have trusted us, trusted you." He paused, then whispered, "I've tried to find you for years, Mia. Every time I saw your picture online, I hoped." His voice faltered. Mia felt a mix of anger and pity. The restaurant noises faded. All she could hear was him, the man who once promised her the world, now admitting regret. Suddenly, Daniel reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a small card. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said, sliding it across the table. But I wanted a chance to make things right. Dinner tomorrow? No lies this time. Mia picked up the card slowly, reading the words again. Her chest tightened. Could she trust him? After 10 years of pain, heartbreak, and uncertainty, could she let him back into her life? She looked up at him. For the first time that evening, their eyes met fully, and something unspoken passed between them, a spark, a hesitation, and maybe hope. Mia stared at the card in her hands, her mind racing. 10 years of heartbreak, betrayal, and unanswered questions weighed heavily on her chest. She remembered the nights she had cried, wondering why Daniel had vanished without a word. And now here he was, sitting calmly, offering a chance, an apology, a dinner, a possibility. Her fingers trembled slightly as she set the card down. I don't know what to say, she admitted softly. Daniel leaned forward, his eyes pleading. You don't have to say anything tonight. Just hear me out tomorrow. That's all I'm asking. The restaurant around them faded into a blur. Mia's thoughts swirled. Could she trust him? Could she believe that the boy she once loved, the man who left her heartbroken, was truly remorseful? The waiter bumped into her shoulder slightly, pulling her back to the present. Daniel watched her closely, waiting as if every second stretched into eternity. Mia swallowed hard. Her mind raced with scenarios: anger, reconciliation, confrontation, revenge. What would she do tomorrow? Could she face him? Could she open the door to the past and risk her heart again? Slowly, she nodded, a subtle gesture that went almost unnoticed. Daniel's lips curved into a faint smile, one that carried years of longing, regret, and hope. Mia turned, walking back to the kitchen, leaving him at the table. But even as she moved, she felt the pull of the moment, of unfinished stories, of emotions waiting to explode. Tomorrow was going to change everything. And she knew, deep down, nothing would ever be the same again. The next evening, Mia arrived at the small, intimate restaurant Daniel had suggested. Her heart pounded, nerves tight like wires ready to snap. The table was set with soft candlelight, quiet music playing, creating a private world away from the busy city streets. Daniel stood as she approached, a nervous smile on his face. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. Mia nodded, sitting down, trying to steady her breathing. I wanted to see you, to finally explain everything," he continued. She listened, wary, as he spoke about the years he spent trying to succeed, the mistakes he made, and the guilt that haunted him every single day. Her eyes softened slightly, remembering the boy she once loved, now grown into a man full of regret and longing. But before she could respond, Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "I want you to have this," he said, sliding it across the table. Inside were letters he had written to her over the years, messages he never sent, apologies he never gave. Tears pricked at Mia's eyes. She felt the weight of the past and the hope of a new beginning collide. "Why now?" she asked, her voice trembling. Daniel took a deep breath. "Because I finally realized that success means nothing without you. I've spent years trying to build a life, but it was empty without the one person who believed in me first." Mia looked at him, heart aching, anger, hurt, and longing swirling together. She picked up one of the letters, her fingers shaking. "Do you really expect me to forgive you just like that?" Daniel shook his head. "No. I just want a chance to prove I can be different. That I can be worthy of your trust again." The room was silent, save for the soft music and the quiet clink of silverware. Mia stared at him, unsure of what to do. Then slowly, she let out a breath, a small, almost imperceptible smile forming. It was a start, a fragile bridge between past and present. A bridge that could lead to healing or heartbreak. Only time would. Mia held the letters in her hands, her chest tight with emotions she had buried for years. Anger, hurt, and longing battled inside her. Daniel watched her closely, giving her space, but never looking away. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness yet," he said softly. "I just want a chance to show I've changed." Mia's mind raced. Could she trust him again after 10 years? Could she let herself feel for him once more after all the pain? She remembered the boy who promised her the world, the man who left without a word, and now the one who stood humbly, asking for a second chance. Slowly, she spoke. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet," she admitted. "But I'm willing to listen." Daniel's eyes softened, relief and hope flickering across his face. "That's all I ask," he whispered. They spent hours talking, sharing stories, uncovering truths, laughing and sometimes crying. The walls between past and present began to crumble. Mia realized that while the pain of the past would never completely disappear, the future was still unwritten. By the end of the evening, they stood outside the restaurant, the city lights reflecting off the wet streets from a recent rain. Daniel extended his hand. "One step at a time?" he asked. Mia hesitated, then placed her hand in his. It was tentative, careful, yet full of possibility. As they walked together into the night, a small smile formed on her lips. For the first time in a decade, she felt hope, a fragile but real hope. Somewhere in the distance, a car honked, a street musician played, and the city continued its endless rhythm. But for Mia and Daniel, the world had slowed. Time had paused, giving them a chance to rebuild what had once been lost. Days passed after that evening, but Mia couldn't stop thinking about Daniel. The letters, the apology, and the chance to rebuild had stirred something inside her she thought was gone forever. She walked through Brooklyn streets, recalling their memories, the laughter, the tears, and the boy she had loved so deeply. Meanwhile, Daniel kept in touch, careful not to overwhelm her, respecting her pace. One afternoon, he invited her to the rooftop of his company's building, an empty space he had transformed into a private garden overlooking the city. Mia hesitated, but curiosity and hope pulled her forward. She arrived to find soft lights, blooming flowers, and a quiet serenity that contrasted the city chaos below. Daniel smiled, handing her a small cup of tea. "I wanted you to see this, to see that I can create beauty, not just success," he said softly. Mia sipped the tea, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. They talked, laughed, shared stories, and slowly, the walls of hesitation fell away. Daniel finally took her hand gently. "I know the past can't be erased," he whispered. "But the future, we can write it together." Mia looked at him, her heart torn between fear and hope. She nodded slowly. "One step at a time," she said, her voice steady. Just then, her phone buzzed. A notification from an unknown number popped up, an email alert that made her stomach twist. Daniel glanced at her, concern flickering in his eyes. Mia stared at the message, unsure what it meant. A shadow from the past or a challenge for the future. She looked back at Daniel. "Whatever it is, we face it together," she said. And in that moment, the city skyline behind them seemed to promise new beginnings, hope, and the thrill of unknown adventures waiting just around the corner. Mia held Daniel's hand, feeling the steady warmth of his presence. The mysterious message on her phone faded into the background as she focused on the moment before her. 10 years of heartbreak, misunderstandings, and missed chances had brought them here, to a fragile, yet genuine connection. Daniel looked into her eyes, his expression a mix of hope and sincerity. "I know I can't erase the past, Mia," he said softly. "But I promise, every day forward, I'll do my best to be worthy of your trust." Mia took a deep breath, letting the emotions she had suppressed for so long rise to the surface. Tears threatened, but this time, they were not only of pain, they were of relief, understanding, and a hint of joy. "I believe in second chances," she whispered. Daniel's lips curved into a small smile, one that held the weight of years and the promise of tomorrow. They walked down the rooftop together, city lights twinkling below, the noise of the streets blending into a gentle hum. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a decade, Mia felt excitement instead of fear. Whatever challenges awaited, whatever shadows from the past might resurface, she knew they could face them together. As they reached the exit, Mia glanced back at the garden, the soft lights shimmering. A chapter had ended, and a new one had begun full of hope, possibilities, and love rediscovered. And somewhere deep inside, she smiled, realizing that sometimes, The people who leave your life unexpectedly can return in ways that change everything forever.